Part 5. Manifesting Goals, Mind Work. Introduction. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Napoleon Hill. When trying to manifest your goals, it's important to keep a high vibration. Feelings are returned on a like-for-like basis, so it's crucial for you to master everything you've learned in the previous sections of this book. However, without doubt, your beliefs are fundamental when it comes to manifestation. If you don't believe in something, you'll rarely see it in your life. So let's spend some time exploring the importance of our beliefs and how they affect our reality. The importance of positive thinking. Positive thinking is the act of choosing ideas that empower you over those that limit you. I'm certain that a positive mind gives you a positive life. Let's just analyze that statement from a purely logical angle, without any mystic correlations. If you view something as negative, how can it also be positive at the same time? Therefore, how can one ever evaluate life as being positive, from a negative sense of perception? A positive mind is greater than a negative mind. Positive thinking is the act of choosing thoughts and actions that support us rather than hinder us, and it brings the best outcome in any situation. For example, a cricket batsman needs 6 runs to win a game from the last ball. If he's fearful and believes he can't hit a 6 to win the game, he probably won't attempt it, so he won't manage it. However, if he picks an empowering thought such as "I can hit this 6, he'll try, and have a chance of succeeding. Either way, the batsman can be bowled out, but the mindset is different. The empowering thought creates a possibility, while the limiting thought eradicates his chances. A negative thought such as "you can't do it," will discourage you from taking steps towards achieving a goal. Obviously, you're then less likely to achieve the goal. A positive thought such as "you can do it," will allow you to try, giving you a greater chance of achieving your goal. One thought restricts you, while the other moves you closer to what you want. Believing that something is impossible means you're too focused on the barriers to success. I remember a child telling me that he couldn't play top-level football and therefore wanted to give up on his dream. He had no reason to believe in it because he looked at his life and saw the task as unrealistic. It seemed impossible from where he stood. His friend was at a similar skill level but had a completely opposite attitude. When I asked the more optimistic youngster why he believed he could reach top level, he told me about other footballers and their success stories. He saw the task as realistic because his focus was on possibility, not impossibility. I do this all the time to give myself hope and to change my perspective. When I had no home, a lot of the things I've since achieved might have seemed unrealistic. But I was inspired by people who'd had tough starts in life yet gone on to achieve incredible things. I said to myself, if they can do it, why can't I? I ended up changing my focus to what could be done, rather than what couldn't be done. Every great accomplishment in the world has grown from the idea that it's possible. Every single one of your thoughts is either helping you move forward in life or holding you back. Positive thinking is about favoring the one that moves you forward. And it's never too late to change your thoughts and reshape your beliefs to support, rather than hinder, yourself. You can't move forward with thoughts that hold you back. Your mentality is your reality. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you are right. Henry Ford. The philosopher Immanuel Kant pointed out over 200 years ago that all our experiences, including all the colors, sensations, and objects we perceive, are just representations in our mind. Reality is only based on individual perception. Think about this: if you asked 100 different people to describe a large rock in 5 different ways, someone hearing those descriptions might believe there were 500 different rocks. Of course, it's in fact the same rock perceived in 500 different ways. Our perception of the world is rooted in our beliefs. These beliefs are our individual truths that build our subjective realities. All human beings are basically just belief systems. A belief is a feeling of certainty about a particular thing. It's a passive knowing. We live our lives based on the beliefs that we've acquired through our experiences and accumulation of knowledge. Consequently, we all view the world differently. It's useful for our personal growth to be open to the beliefs of others, and to be willing to change our beliefs if we're convinced that an alternative way of looking at something provides a more accurate and empowering view. But we shouldn't change our beliefs just because of others. Instead, we should question our own beliefs and ask ourselves, do my beliefs help me live a life I truly love, and how many of my beliefs are my own, and how many were given to me? Your mentality forms your reality. So the next time someone tells you you're being unrealistic about your goal and to come back to reality, realize that it's only their reality that they're talking about, not yours. Believing in something is the key to seeing it. If you don't believe in it, it's not true to you, so it can't be your reality. As we know from the law of vibration, when we believe in negative things, we experience negative things. These negative experiences continue to reinforce the initial beliefs, making you an even bigger believer in them. And an unhappy truth can become even truer unless you decide to change your beliefs. Understanding the subconscious mind. It is your subconscious mind that is responsible for your beliefs. All that you perceive is a result of what you accept as true in your subconscious mind. The conscious mind thinks, the subconscious mind absorbs. Your conscious mind is your garden and your subconscious mind is like deep, fertile soil. Seeds of both success and failure can be planted in this soil without any discernment. Your conscious mind plays the role of the gardener, choosing which seeds are sown in your soil. But most of us allow both good and bad seeds to fall within this soil. This means that limiting ideas are among those constantly taking root in our subconscious, since they're repeatedly sown there. As the subconscious doesn't evaluate these ideas, they gradually reshape our beliefs. This means fearful, jealous, and power-hungry individuals will constantly feed bad seeds into your mind that will limit your potential in life. You might be told to wake up and be realistic. Deeply habitual thinking that stems from undesirable subconscious impressions will lead you away from your true goals in life, but the truth is, once you mute the noise of the world, you'll realize there's nothing you can't do. Going beyond thoughts. If you can't change a situation, change your perception of it. That's where your personal power is. Either be controlled, or be in control. Growing up, I lived in a somewhat racist neighborhood. Put it this way. If I wanted to play outside, as kids did back then, I'd spend the first half hour fighting at least 2 or 3 kids. Eventually, I'd be drawn to fight their older brothers, too. When they told me to go back to my own country, I was offended. This was my country and it was my right to be able to play outside. I remember thinking that no one should have the right to belittle me because of the color of my skin. This thought built up so much rage inside me that, although I didn't like fighting, I felt, ironically, that fighting was the only way I could defend my freedom and create peace. Every time someone was racist towards me, my automatic response was violence. My violence was born from anger, which is a defense against pain. Yet I wasn't a violent person. I'd often physically hurt kids and then right away I'd feel guilty and ask them if they were okay. But the notion of violence creating peace is a misconception we commonly observe on the news today. When I won a fight, it only encouraged more people to get involved. Soon enough, I stopped playing outside because the drama wasn't worth it. Our brains are clever. They want to make life easy for us and to do as little thinking as possible. This might sound a little strange, especially if you're a chronic overthinker. So the brain is optimized to make subconscious decisions based on previous emotions attached to experiences. This autopilot behavior created by repetition allows us to move through our day without having to relearn processes, such as driving, and without having to think through all the minutiae of daily life. However, since our subconscious mind has no awareness, it can unwittingly hold us captive to unhealthy behavior. The fact that I felt bad every time I reacted violently to the abuse I was subjected to made me realize that I wasn't my reactions, I was conditioned to react like that by my past experiences, and I didn't question my reaction because I lacked awareness. You are not your thoughts. You are the witness of each thought. By this principle, I never actually thought, I am angry, I was simply aware of this thought and emotion. By cultivating this awareness, we can learn to make better decisions as to how to act. How we perceive an event determines how we experience it. Events are neutral, but we give them labels. When a bad event happens, take a pause, and then observe your thoughts. This is making the unconscious mind conscious, replacing thought with awareness. Only once you notice your thoughts can you make a choice as to how you respond. Meditation is a powerful tool for honing this skill. Look at any disempowering thought as not really you and let it pass by. Or select a more empowering thought. For example, if you've just lost your job, you could focus on the thought that says you're going to be unemployed and broke, which will make you feel hopeless and lower your vibration. Or you could focus on the opportunity to find a new job that pays more. The second thought will make you feel better and raise your vibration. This is the practice of living consciously, unlearning and reconditioning the mind so you can have more freedom to be who you really are. It's not a quick process, but with dedication it will allow you to shift from a cycle of negative thinking to a new mode of positive thinking. In short, rather than trying to control external events, concentrate on controlling how your mind responds to them. This gives you back your personal power and is the key to a happy life. Your goal isn't to get rid of negative thoughts. It's to change your response to them. One thought is all it takes. You're only ever one positive thought away from a more desirable outcome. Chaos theory is a field of study in mathematics, with applications over disciplines including physics, biology, economics, and philosophy. It suggests that even a tiny difference in initial parameters can lead to complex and unpredictable results. This is often known as the butterfly effect. The flapping of a butterfly's wings in the Amazon could cause tiny atmospheric changes that, over a certain time period, could affect weather patterns as far away as New York. For example, imagine we repeatedly fired a cannonball from a particular position and angle, with the exact same conditions each time. Using mathematics and physics, we could calculate where the ball will land each time. It's predictable. However, if you change anything in the slightest way, such as the position, angle, or air resistance, the ball will land in a different place. Similarly, if we change just one thought to a more positive one, and we really believe in it, we change our whole perception of the world. This new perception has the power to change outcomes. We cannot rely on our environment to create new outcomes. It's not usually within our control. However, as the cannon barrel in your life, you can easily fire a ball at a different angle or from a different height, so that it lands further away or in a different place, simply by changing your thoughts. This is within your control. Changing your beliefs. It would be nice to change your beliefs overnight, but this is an astoundingly difficult thing to achieve. As we've established, our beliefs are dug deep into the soils of our subconscious mind. When we accept notions without question, we live with them for most of our lives. Some of these ideas make sense to us, but don't empower us. They limit our potential in life. The first step is to identify which core beliefs you want to change. For example, one of my core beliefs was, I can't change my future, so I'll never be able to achieve big things. These beliefs didn't make me feel good, but if I'd tried to change them right away, I'd have felt as though I were lying to myself. After all, these beliefs were my truth. But why did I think they were the truth? When I confronted my restricting beliefs, I discovered that I believed what I did because of what I'd been told by someone I looked up to. They'd told me that everyone is given a specific life and we have no control over it whatsoever. Apparently, some people were just born lucky. And others weren't, and we have to accept it. We shouldn't waste our time trying to create something different. It was explained much more subtly than I've described it. However, not only was this ideology fed into my mind from a young age, but it was also reiterated by everyone around me. And so I believed that I had no power to change the course of my life. As I got older and things got harder, my own beliefs saddened me. I felt I Had no alternative, and I must live like this because that's what was intended for me. But I didn't want to believe this, I wanted a way out. I started to question the validity of my beliefs. I also became skeptical about how credible the source of these beliefs was. Sure, they came from someone who was respected and everyone around me confirmed them. But none of these people were the type of person I aspired to. In my late teens, I wanted to be rich and famous, so I decided to study people who were rich and famous, and see if their beliefs were different from mine. These individuals thought limitlessly. They seemed like positive people, too. They talked about charity, respecting other people, being healthy, escape your mental limitations. Don't spend your life being imprisoned by a belief system that limits your potential and prevents your dreams from coming true. When I started looking at people who'd accomplished some of the greatest achievements on our planet, the theme seemed to be the same. I also studied some of the most admired spiritual leaders. I found many who stated that our beliefs create the life we experience. I realized that what I'd been taught wasn't necessarily false, it was true for the person who'd told me it and for others around me. When I looked at the lives of those people, there was a common theme: struggle. They had no reason to believe otherwise. Life hadn't treated them well, so all they'd known was hardship. Our rational brains try to make sense of life around us. If someone offers a theory that resonates, we accept it as our truth. When I was told that life would be difficult, it was much easier to believe than to question it. I took it on as a truth because it fitted with my life experiences so far. Our beliefs are like a lens we use to view life. We see what we convince ourselves is true. With this realization, I knew that if I could change my beliefs, I could change my life. I wanted to know if there were people out there who were born into circumstances like mine but still managed to achieve great things. Not only were there countless cases of such people, but also many of them were born into worse situations than mine. Reading their success stories disproved everything I'd been conditioned to believe. They helped me to build a solid case against my own rational mind, using evidence. The more stories I read, the firmer my resolve became. I could now accept a new belief: I can change my future and achieve great things. The key point here is that if you want to change your belief, you have to disprove your current belief by finding enough evidence to support the belief you want. There are always success stories out there that will assist you in this process. Repeating affirmations. What you verbalize will eventually materialize. You have the power to talk aspects of your reality into existence. Don't underestimate the power of affirmations. Affirmations are positive statements that describe what you wish to achieve. Simply saying something over and over again, with great conviction, creates a belief deep in our subconscious that this statement is true. It's visible in everyday society. We're fed certain notions about the world, and they're repeated over and over again. For example, a mother who constantly tells her child that they're shy will reinforce this idea in the child's head. The child may not actually feel shy, but, through repetition of this idea, the child might start to believe it. Consequently, the child may grow up to be shy. The mother's words become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Once again, this leads me to stress the importance of surrounding yourself with people who are feeding you empowering thoughts. This isn't to say that you should only keep friends who say nice things about you, but it does mean that you should pick people who are supportive, not destructive. If you keep on being told you can't do something, you'll believe you can't. Repeating affirmations is a conscious process. It's the act of sending instructions to your subconscious mind. Once these beliefs are planted, your subconscious mind will do everything it can to bring these ideas into fruition. It's like writing instructions into a computer program to carry out a process for you. Once the lines of code are in, the program can run automatically to bring the desired result. From personal experience, reciting statements that I simply cannot trick myself into believing doesn't work effectively. Going back to my example about changing beliefs, I couldn't just tell myself that I could change my future and do big things. I had to find proof to challenge my old beliefs rationally. The same thing should be done before affirming ideas, so that these statements aren't rejected. This is a much more effective way to use affirmations. Adding substance to affirmations before you repeat them gives them greater power. Maintaining a high vibration is important throughout life, and I find that if you can say your affirmations during a period when you're feeling good, they'll have greater momentum, though repeating affirmations can raise your vibration whatever your mood. Saying something out loud like, "You really mean it," can completely change your state. Affirmations should be in your own words. Say them in your voice, as if you're telling facts to a friend. Only repeat positive statements, don't recite what you don't want. What we resist often persists, because the energy we exude in avoiding it is also returned to us. So, for example, you might say, "I have great confidence in everything I do," rather than, "I am not nervous anymore." And affirmations should be spoken in the present tense. When you act as if the goal is already the truth, your subconscious mind believes that it is and acts accordingly. The amount of time you spend on your affirmations is entirely up to you. Anything between 2 and 5 minutes a day is reasonable. However, emotional investment is more important than duration, so say them like you mean them. The power of words. Words can hurt, help, or heal. There's power in everything you write and say. Your message is significant, be wise with it. In the 1990s, Dr. Masaru Emoto carried out groundbreaking experiments on the impact of emotional energy on water. 11. In one study, he wrote positive and negative words on containers full of water. He then froze samples of the water from each container. Among the negative words were "you fool," while a positive one was love. Dr. Emoto's thinking was that if our words are energy and water is an absorber of energy, then surely the words would affect the water in some way. He was absolutely right. The water that had been exposed to positive words formed beautiful ice crystals, with the words love and gratitude forming the most stunning ones. In contrast, the water exposed to negative words formed unappealing patterns with distorted shapes. He found the same results by verbally communicating words to different water containers. It was clear that our words carry a vibration. As I mentioned in part 2 of this book, our bodies are mainly made up of water. Now imagine how much our words might affect us. Set the intention. If you're unsure about what you want, you'll end up with a lot of things you're unsure of. Before going after your goals, you have to know what you want. You cannot attain that which you're unsure about. You wouldn't go into a restaurant and say, "I think I want the vegetable curry," when placing your order. You either want it or you don't. If you're confused about your intention, the results that follow will reflect that. For example, if the waiter asks you how spicy you want the vegetable curry but say you're not sure, you could receive any level of spice. If you then find it too spicy, it would be your own fault because you didn't give clear instructions. Setting the right goal is everything. It has to reflect what you deeply desire, not what you think you should want. For many years, the things I believed I wanted were actually only to impress other people. Sometimes I'd achieve these things and feel surprised that they didn't satisfy me. Your goals should reflect who you are as a person. They should be the things you think about all the time that you know will improve the quality of your life. Having materialistic desires is fine, only those who have completely transcended their ego don't have any. Nevertheless, your goals should mean a lot to you. For example, someone might want a bigger house to raise a large family in, so they can share good times together. There's greater meaning to this goal than wanting the bigger house just to prove how rich you are. Once you make an intention clear, the universe will work in miraculous ways. When we put what we want out there, the manifestation process begins and things start to unfold in our favor. Our dreams come to life. J. Cole is a renowned American rapper, writer, and producer, who previously had jobs in advertising and debt collecting. In a 2011 interview, Cole claimed that after watching the rapper 50 Cent's movie, Get Rich or Die Tryin', he was inspired to make himself a t-shirt carrying the bold statement, "Produce for Jay-Z or die tryin'." In the interview, Cole said he thought he could take a different route to becoming a rapper by first becoming noticed as a producer. He wanted to create an avenue to his main goal, and that's why he created the t-shirt .12. After wearing the t-shirt in the hope that someone from the music industry or Jay-Z himself would recognize him, it wasn't until several years later that something amazing happened. With his goal set and his great work ethic partnered with self-belief, Cole was contacted by Jay-Z and was later signed to his record label Roc Nation. Cole has now rapped with Jay-Z on several tracks and produced them himself. Write down your goals. You are the author of your future. Write about what you desire and live your story. I once read that if you write down your goals, they're more likely to come true. I was intrigued, so I decided to look into it. I began to unravel all these wonderful statistics from studies and remarkable stories of people who wrote down their goals on paper and ended up manifesting them years later. A popular example is that of the professional American football quarterback Colin Kaepernick. When he was in 4th grade, Kaepernick wrote himself a letter in which he quite accurately predicted that he would become a professional football player, what team he'd play for, and even his weight and height. .13 Colin isn't a psychic, he just knew what he wanted, and he was specific about his vision for the future. His ideas eventually manifested into his reality. When you write down your goals, you turn your intentions into something tangible. Define them in detail, and this will help you to stay focused so you don't lose your way. I've had great fortune when it comes to writing down my goals. In the past, I've written very specific details about my goals and they've manifested exactly how I wrote them. The way I write my goals is quite specific. I'm sharing these details with you here so you can make use of them, too. Write down your goals with a pen or pencil. The act of writing down your goals on paper, rather than on screen, creates what I like to think is a magical impression on your mind. When you reread these goals, in your own handwriting, this impression on the mind deepens, giving greater force to your goals. Be honest. Write them down exactly as you wish them. Don't restrict yourself or write them in a way that you think is right. If you have big goals, that's fine. Thinking big means you are open to receiving big. Write them in the present tense. Just as with affirmations, write down your goals in the present tense, as if you've already accomplished them, such as I am a great mathematician, if that's what you want to become. Your subconscious mind will choose the path of least resistance in order to manifest your goals. Make them positive. Remember, always write your goals down from a positive stance. Focus on what you want, not what you don't want. Write them in your own voice. Write them exactly how you'd say them. You don't need to use fancy language. These goals are to be understood by you and you alone. Write them in a way that you connect with easily. You shouldn't have to try to translate them in your head. Be specific. Write down as many details as you can. The clearer the goal, the clearer the outcome. Remember, the subconscious mind is working from a set of instructions, and the outcome can only be as good as the instructions provided. If possible, write your goals without a time frame in mind. Otherwise, when the goal doesn't manifest when you expect it to, you might be disheartened and become doubtful, which lowers your vibration and pushes your goal further away. However, if you're someone who is motivated by pressure, a deadline might help you to go into action. It's your call. If a time frame would be helpful, include one. If not, don't. Set goals you feel confident about. The best way to build confidence is to start with smaller goals. Once you manifest them, you'll be confident about bigger goals manifesting, too. Once you've identified and written down your goals, say them out loud every day. If you need to make small adjustments to them, then do so. However, changing them drastically and frequently is almost like planting a new seed each time, so keep that in mind. You need to know what you want. Imagine it to live it. What becomes real in your mind will become real in your life. Visualization is the process of creating an experience or intention in your mind, before you have it in your life. Global superstar Arnold Schwarzenegger has made several references to visualizing his goals before he actually achieved them. Michael Jordan, the legendary basketball player, claims that he visualized the type of player he wanted to become before he found success. In fact, top athletes often use visualization. One of the best tennis players ever to grace our planet, Roger Federer, says he uses it in his training regime. These sportsmen are training and performing to perfection, within their minds. Psychologists Alan Budley, Shane Murphy, and Robert Woolfolk suggested in their 1994 book that mental practice results in better performance than not physically practicing at all. 14 The brain patterns that are activated when you imagine an action are very similar to those that are activated when you physically perform the action, so visualization can actually train your brain for the event. When we visualize what we desire, not only do we align ourselves to vibrate on the same frequency as the object of our visualization, but we also influence our subconscious mind in the same way as we do with affirmations. The brain and the nervous system cannot tell the difference between what is imagined and what is real. We can take advantage of this. If our brain believes that the ideas we're feeding it are true, then our life will begin to reflect that, too. If you imagine yourself to be more confident than you currently are and the brain thinks it's true, you'll be more confident. Engage your senses. When we talk about visualization as a process, we don't mean creating single mental images. You have to create scenes, not pictures. In those scenes you must involve all your senses: taste, sight, touch, smell and hearing. Go into as much detail as you can. For example, if you want a new car, don't just picture the car. Put yourself in the car, driving it around. Think about how you feel while driving it, the sound of the car, the sight of other cars on the road, the temperature of the air around you, and so on. Live the experience as if it were true in that precise moment. Get creative with your scenes. Really bring them to life by making them bright, colorful, loud, and big. All you need to do is close your eyes and start creating. It's important to create a scene that makes you feel good. Your imagination should ignite positive emotions, and this requires a lot of focus, so always do it in a quiet place where you can relax and distance yourself from any distractions. When I use this technique, I get confirmation that I'm doing it effectively when I start to feel a little tingly. That is, I begin to feel as if it is actually happening. And it fills me with excitement. If you find it hard to create visuals in your head, there are things you can do to help yourself. Vision boards are very popular. Collect pictures and clippings that depict what you want to manifest and fix them to a board. This will help you clarify your goals, and you can place the board in an obvious place in your home to keep you focused on their intentions. I like to keep a vision board as well as practice visualization. I don't keep a physical board, but collect images on a personal website and try to spend a few minutes viewing it every day. This has worked well for me. I even manifested my dream proposal to my life partner by gathering images on Pinterest, a popular vision board platform, of how I wanted it to look. As a teenager, I used to produce music as a hobby. I was a big fan of a group called So Solid Crew, one of the biggest acts around at the time. I had their logo printed onto my school pencil case. In class, I daydreamed about working with them. A year or two later, a member of So Solid Crew, known as Swiss, released an album called Pain and Music. I absolutely fell in love with this album and would listen to it day and night. It put me in a trance and I'd visualize myself working with Swiss and creating great music together. Remarkably, it wasn't long after this that I did have the chance to work with Swiss, through a musical artist and mentor of mine called Clive, who happened to be friends with him. Eventually the three of us collaborated on a few songs, before just Swiss and I worked together. The universe is supporting you. Don't worry about how it's going to happen, otherwise you'll begin to create limitations. Just be certain about what you want and the entire universe will rearrange itself for you. Whatever the path you might be on right now, it will support you. It will provide you with the signs to get you to where you want to be. The 13th century poet Rumi wrote, "The universe is not outside you. Look inside yourself, everything that you want, you already are." Rumi may also have agreed that the only reason the universe might not be available to you is if you are not attuned to it. The universe already exists within you, but it's not perceivable to you if you are not vibrating high enough. However, you can bring it to light through your words, actions, emotions and beliefs. The universe helps us to create, or rather, to bring possibilities into our reality. It gives you signs to follow and sends you ideas to act on. It's up to you to respond. You might decide your goal is to work for yourself at something you enjoy. Then one day you randomly think of a specific idea, like selling your food recipes online. If you don't think much of it, you probably won't act on it, you'll probably just dismiss it as a passing thought. In the following weeks, you might start coming across bloggers sharing their own recipes. This seems coincidental, so you continue to ignore the signs and instead invest your efforts elsewhere. But by ignoring the signs, you could be missing out on everything you want. Sometimes, we ignore the signs because we think we're supposed to achieve our goals in a particular way. All I really wanted to do was utilize my creative skills to change the world in a positive way, and, of course, live comfortably. I used to think that the only avenue for this was clothing. Once I let go of the idea of how it was going to happen, I found myself trying out other ideas. Seemingly casual thoughts led me to where I am now. I trust where they'll take me next, knowing they'll bring me closer to where I want to be. These days, when terms like the law of attraction are thrown around, people assume that your dreams will manifest without any effort on your part. But you must take action on the thoughts and ideas that crop up in your mind, the inspiration that the universe sends you. They're nudges from the universe saying, "Go this way. Try this." Intention without action is just a wish. A goal only comes to life when you decide to pursue it. The universe is always supporting you. Part 6. Manifesting goals, taking action. Introduction. It's not about where you're at. It's about what you're doing about where you're at. I believe in taking action and building momentum towards your goal. This shouldn't be confused with taking big steps. You can move forward with baby steps. However, it's always a good idea to give everything you've got. For example, if my intention is to be the biggest music artist in the world, I don't have to try to sell out arenas right away. I could start by creating a song. That's a small step in the right direction. At the same time, I could pour every little part of me into the song. I could ensure the lyrics are the best they can be and I can perform the vocals to the best of my abilities. This might mean that I have to spend extra time on it, or learn new skills, but that's all an investment into my future, my dreams. Many of us have a series of excuses ready to explain why something can't be done. Often, you'll hear people relay their doubts or explain how they lack time, expertise, resources, money, etc. But when we want a goal badly enough, we make sacrifices in other areas to make it possible. I've come to realize that it's not necessary to have lots of free time to achieve a dream. The same goes for money and other resources. What you do need is a vision, a belief in it, and serious dedication. You'll find a way if you keep taking action. We might not want to sacrifice our luxuries or undergo the pain of hard work to get our desired outcome. We don't want to step outside of our comfort zone. We accept mediocrity while we simultaneously complain about it. But then that outcome will remain out of reach. "I'm not ready," we say. But when will you be ready? Sir Richard Branson was diagnosed as dyslexic at school. He dropped out at the age of 16 to start a magazine. He was hardly ready in most people's eyes. But he was driven. He didn't know anything about planes, but he started Virgin Atlantic anyway. Along with an incredible net worth, Richard Branson's Virgin Group includes more than 400 companies. He's as driven today as he was when he was 16. He isn't lucky, his history reveals bad trades throughout. He's just someone who believes in his vision and he acts on Change requires action. Once, I needed money to clear a debt. I set my vibration high and ensured I was feeling good. But I didn't take action. I just expected money to come to me. During this time, I won a free watch in an online competition. I didn't usually enter competitions because I'd never won anything in the past. But I was feeling optimistic and so I entered. I was grateful that I won the watch, but it wasn't what I needed at this time. I needed money. As time dragged on, the money I needed didn't appear and I began to get disheartened. I was certain it was going to come, so why didn't it? Well, you see, I hadn't noticed the opportunity the universe had given me to take action. I'd won a prize and I didn't consider that it could help me on my way. Yes, I could have sold it. As soon as I realized my mistake, I did sell it, and made the money I needed to pay off my debt. Sometimes, steps towards your goals come disguised as opportunities to take action. If you don't take action, you'll miss out on the reward. Expecting change to happen when you don't change anything yourself is like making chocolate raspberry cake in the exact same way, every single day, and expecting it to turn into a chocolate strawberry cake. If you don't add strawberries to the cake instead of raspberries, then it won't change. It sounds a bit silly and obvious, right? But so many people go through their lives expecting change when they're doing the same things every day. They feed all this positive energy via their thoughts, words, and emotions, but take no action, which is vibratory in itself. The easy route. I find that a lot of people know what to do, but they still don't do it. They rely on justification or an easier solution because the real solution seems too long-winded. Some people would rather use their energy to find a way to use less effort for the same result. Working smarter is essential for effective productivity, but even finding a solution to work smarter requires a lot of effort. We must come to terms with the idea that some things have to be done the difficult way. For example, if you want to lose weight, you have to create a calorie deficit by either increasing physical activity, improving your diet, or both. Most people know they need to do these things but they don't commit to them. Instead, they'll look for a magic pill or another shortcut to solve their problem. They spend excessive time, energy, and money on trying out different miracle cures, when they could have achieved much more if they simply decided to apply some effort. Other people in this situation may do nothing at all. They want to lose weight and they'll moan about it, but they don't take any action. Many of us will label these people as lazy. People usually act in this way because of two things. One is that they simply don't believe that they can achieve the results that they want to, so they're defeated by the idea of it straight away. The second is that they find the idea of working for the result too painful. People won't want to take action on things if they perceive the process of achieving the results as being too hard. The idea of going to the gym or eating healthily may seem much more painful than remaining how they are. So these people take no action. They tend to stick with easier and more comfortable options, but rarely do we grow within our comfort zone. Sadly, many will wait until they have no other option before they commit to changes. When you see your current situation as being more painful than going through whatever it takes to get what you desire, great pain and pressure can force great changes to occur. This is the same reason why people will put up with toxic relationships until they reach breaking point. They may find the idea of being single and lonely more daunting than putting up with their abusive partner. Step out of your comfort zone and face your fears. Growth takes place when you are challenged, not when you are comfortable. If you want something enough, you'll take action on it. But don't wait for your pain threshold to be tested. This will only delay results in the manifestation process. Start asking yourself how badly you want to achieve your goals. Do you want them more than you fear the process of getting there? Consistency leads to results. We must be consistent as we strive to achieve our goals. Imagine that you want to build lean muscle, so you purchase a 3-month workout and nutrition plan from a personal trainer. You then follow 50% of the instructions, but after a month you notice that you're not getting the results you'd hoped for. You might conclude that the plan doesn't work. Alternatively, you might follow the whole plan, but observe after 2 or 3 weeks that the results aren't showing. Again, you say that the plan doesn't work. In both cases, you simply give up on it. If you do 50% of the plan, you can expect no more than 50% of the results. If you are not consistent in your actions, then you can't assume that you'll see the final results you were expecting. I myself did a home workout series. It was a 2-month program, and after a month I couldn't see any exciting results. In spite of this, I promised myself I'd see it out until the end. I'm glad I did. I dropped nearly 3 inches off my waist by the end of the 2nd month. The same goes for meditation, affirmations, visualizations, and any other positive practice. If you want to reap the benefits, you have to do regular, solid practice. Be committed to the cause. With consistency, we can create habits that shape our lives. Lack of time isn't an excuse. If you can't make the time for something, it's not a high enough priority for you. If something is important to you, you'll make the time for it. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle. Soccer legend David Beckham was once known for his amazing free kicks. Each time he stepped up to take one, the crowd were certain that the ball was going to land in the back of the net. Beckham didn't become a master of free kicks overnight. He practiced over and over again. He didn't practice until he got his free kicks right, but until he couldn't get them wrong. Even when he was scoring them, he ensured that he stayed consistent with his practice. With repetition comes habit. Not everything will work, or be the best fit, for you. Reviewing your methods and adapting to change is vital. If you've given something a good shot but you're still not progressing, this might be a sign that you need to try a new approach. Use your intuition to guide you. If something feels wrong, it usually is ordinary or extraordinary. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is simple. Extraordinary people will get things done even when they don't feel like it, because they're fully committed to their goals. When you pursue a goal you're passionate about, you'll naturally be motivated to achieve it. If you don't find the process enjoyable, then you may want to re-evaluate where you're investing your efforts. This isn't to say that you won't have your down days, even if you're very focused on your goal. If you hold a high vibration or make an effort to increase it, motivation will come quite easily to you, but the prospect of having to take action can lower your vibration if you are not in the right frame of mind. Maintaining your motivation isn't always an easy task, especially following a setback or on a dark and gloomy day. Motivation comes and goes. Low motivation might indicate that you need time out to recharge, or it could mean you need to go out and search for inspiration. If you still don't feel motivated, proceed anyway and be willing to get things done. You didn't expect me to say that, did you? It might not sound very appealing, but experience has taught me that this behavior, this grit, is a key difference between ordinary and extraordinary. It's about commitment. When you don't want to roll out of bed in the early hours, or when you really can't be bothered to go to that meeting on the other side of town, you do it anyway. You recognize that the effort you put in will be worth the rewards that come later. Although writing is a passion of mine, I'll readily admit that I've groaned at some of the tasks involved in creating this book. Some have been extremely tedious, but even as I write this line, I'm focused on the result. Things are always easier when you're in the mood to do them, but if you want to live a greater life than the average person, you have to commit the same effort even when you're not. Procrastination will delay your dreams. Procrastination is a habit. If the task ahead of you seems so insurmountable that you don't know where to start, you'll put it off again and again. Perhaps you choose a distraction as being more favorable or comfortable. It's important to kill this habit if you want to manifest your goals. Do it before procrastination becomes the assassination of your dreams. Behaviors of chronic procrastinators include putting things off until a later date or the last minute, carrying out less urgent tasks before urgent ones, getting distracted before or while doing something, Facing things only when they're unavoidable. Claiming that you haven't got time to do something. Waiting for the right time or mood to do something. Not completing tasks at all. Does this sound like you? Procrastinators avoid things that require action. Some of us do everything apart from what we need to do in order to be in harmony with our goals. For example, when typing up an essay for a deadline, a procrastinator might first browse the internet and waste precious time. We don't just procrastinate over small tasks, but over our biggest goals. 2. My friend Tony's mentoring client, Malcolm, is a clear example of someone who procrastinated before taking action on his dreams. Malcolm was fearful, unwilling to leave his comfort zone, and over-analytical. These are common traits in chronic procrastinators. These qualities led him to deviate from the path to achieving his goals. The story with Malcolm began when he first went to see Tony for support to reach his goal, something he really wanted, to start his own business. It would need his full-time commitment, which meant he'd have to leave his current job. Malcolm feared what he couldn't understand, which was how he would make a viable income with his business idea. He lacked self-belief. He doubted his own potential, and he didn't want to feel uncomfortable by compromising his existing lifestyle. He told himself that he was being unrealistic, so he hadn't pursued his passion. After Tony had set Malcolm on the path to starting his business, Malcolm suddenly convinced himself that he didn't have enough information to get it going. He felt that he needed to do more research, which required more time. He believed this because, again, he feared failure. Research is, of course, crucial if you intend to start a successful business. So his intentions were reasonable. The problem was that he did have all the information he needed. He was using an imagined need for further research as an excuse to delay taking action. Malcolm was eager to start his own business, and he believed it would add value to the world, but sadly he lacked the confidence to take the leap and get started. After spending months researching every detail of his plans, Malcolm concluded that his idea was pointless. He wrote it off completely. He'd managed to talk himself out of it. This came as a shock to Tony, because he could see that Malcolm's idea had great potential and that he was committed to it. But this wasn't the end. Time went by and Malcolm's job was made redundant. Instead of finding another employer, Malcolm decided to invest his redundancy money into his thoroughly researched business idea. This time he had no choice but to make it work. He needed an income to live on. With a bit of capital to work with and no other option, Malcolm finally took action. His business eventually became a success. If he hadn't been made redundant and received his payout, he might never have started his business. Now Malcolm realizes that he was held back by fear and wishes he'd started his business earlier. You don't need it all figured out. The more you think you do, the more you'll procrastinate and fear moving forward. Have courage and start now, even if you start small. Just go for it. When you find yourself procrastinating, it's important to devise a strategy to overcome this. It's easy to do this for smaller goals, like completing an essay, but it's more challenging with bigger goals, like creating a successful online business. So break your goals down. Big goals can be overwhelming, and it's hard to imagine how you'll ever cross the finish line. It's more effective to set smaller goals and prioritize them in order of urgency. If the goals still seem big after you've made them smaller, break them down further. If you can meet smaller goals, you'll become more confident about bigger goals. Even if you're trying to manifest money, start by making the goal a fraction of the desired amount. So, if the goal is to have £10,000, work on making £100 to begin with. After you make £100, you can try to make another £100 until you reach your target amount. We have 4 types of feel-good hormones in our body: dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. Dopamine, in particular, encourages us to take action towards our goals and provides us with feelings of pleasure when we achieve them. When we lack enthusiasm for a task, it means our dopamine levels are low. When you break big goals down into smaller ones, you overcome this Your brain will celebrate every time you meet a goal by releasing dopamine. You will then be encouraged to take further action on the rest of your goals. If your final goal is time sensitive, make sure each smaller goal has a deadline on it. You can only meet big goals on time if your smaller ones are done on time, too. If you still struggle to beat procrastination, try the following techniques. 1. Get rid of every distraction possible, even if this means changing your environment. Have you ever been hungry and ended up snacking on something unhealthy just because it was there? If it wasn't there, the temptation wouldn't exist. We get distracted by things that are easily available to us. 2. Give yourself an incentive to complete the task. For example, tell yourself you can meet with your friends later if you finish whatever needs to be done. This will give you something to look forward to and motivate you to take action. 3. Take breaks to do something enjoyable. We all need a little time out when working, but make sure your breaks are for a fixed duration. If you want to watch a new episode of a show, schedule a period for it and don't exceed it. 4. Get creative. Make your tasks more appealing. When doing activities that don't require much thought, you could play music in the background. This will raise your vibration. Singing along might make the activity even more enjoyable. 5. Get some help if required. Never be afraid to ask for help. Talk to someone who's recently accomplished a similar goal to you. This may provide much needed inspiration and they may be able to give you valuable guidance. 6. Give yourself a consequence for not taking action. For example, you could tell yourself that if you don't go to the gym today, you can't watch television for the entire week. To ensure you don't go back on what you say, make sure you tell others about it. This leads me to my final point. 7. Announce your intentions to some trustworthy friends. This will give you some accountability. They'll know if you don't stick to your plans, and they might even give you a little push to ensure that you achieve what you set out to do. The Quick Fix Society. Patience is a must when pursuing your goals. Your desires can take a while to manifest. If you believe you're doing everything in your power to manifest your goals, sometimes all you need to do is practice a little patience. Accept today as it is and stay optimistic in the face of delays, setbacks or challenges. Time is the most precious commodity you have. When time is spent, it's gone forever. This is why businesses that save their customers' time often thrive. But while these companies might significantly improve our lives, they've also contributed to the creation of a quick fix society. The quick fix society demands instant solutions. We expect things to be done straight away. We want to use less effort and less time to get a desirable outcome. Online clothing retailers will get clothes to us the next day. Services like Amazon Prime get all manner of goods to us within a day. If you want to watch a movie or a television show, you can just hop onto Netflix and pick something. If you want a date, you just need to swipe through a dating app. Meals can be replaced by frozen ones that can be heated in a microwave in a few minutes. No more need for patience. We can get what we want without delay. There's nothing wrong with indulging in these things now and then, but they've created a culture of impatience. We don't want to wait, and if we have to wait, we may lose faith in our intentions. The assumption is that things must arrive quickly, with minimal effort. Don't get me wrong, if you can achieve something great at lightning speed, that's fantastic. Just don't be oblivious to the fact that most things in life require effort and patience. This quick fix way of life encourages us to give up on our goals when they don't manifest as rapidly as we'd hoped, and move on to the next thing. This will never be fulfilling. A lot of the time, your goals aren't eluding you. You either haven't put in the effort you need to, or you're expecting things to happen instantaneously. Practice a little patience. You'll get the job, the partner, the house, the car, etc. Just don't rush the process, trust it. You have to grow into your dreams. Swap short-term pleasures for long-term gains. You're not missing out on anything great if you're using that time to make your life greater. These days, I tend to party only when there's something to celebrate. But In my late teens and early 20s, I went to a lot of clubs in a lot of places. I even flew all the way to Cancun in Mexico from the UK just to experience the infamous American spring break. I was living for the moment. This is important because, as we've learned, we only ever have this current moment and we should enjoy it. But a healthy balance between living for the moment and investing in the future is always required when you have goals. When I was working in an office, every Friday I used to get that feeling of excitement because I knew I was going to celebrate a weekend free from work. I began living for the weekend, even though I knew there was more to life. The weekend was the time to reward myself. I'd get intoxicated and spend my hard-earned money in nightclubs. In the moment, when I was drunk, I felt great. But this is what my actions were really saying. Look at me. I'm working for hours on end in a job I don't really like, for someone who doesn't respect me. Therefore, I'm living for the weekend, to celebrate my freedom and spend my hard-earned cash on overpriced lethal substances that come in fancy bottles. This way I can feel better about life for a moment, by escaping the reality I face during the working week while impressing people who might be in a similar predicament. Deep down, I was always wondering when my life would start to resemble my vision of having my own business, doing something I loved. I expected it to transform by pure chance. I'd continually complain that I had no money to put towards my dreams. It was ironic, but I know I'm not alone. People often complain that they don't have the time or the money to start their own business, while simultaneously spending lots of time and money on leisure activities. In some places, a single glass of an alcoholic beverage costs more than a book. Which one is more likely to change your life? People invest in the wrong places, and often they unwittingly fund someone else's dreams. Someone who's worked their ass off and has now manifested their goals. Thanks to your spare cash. There are so many individuals living like I was. And if it's not partying, it's something else. Yes, we should enjoy our lives and make the most of every moment. However, giving up what you want most for what you want now can deprive you of life's real treasures. I believe that everyone is destined for a greater life. Yet I understand that many people are unwilling to delay brief gratification for the sake of long-term rewards. When you're unwilling to delay temporary pleasures, this can have massive implications for your future. Most people are living the "when I have X, I'll be happy" way of life. But this is a delusion. However, you can have pleasure in the present by living mindfully, appreciatively, and altering your perspective. You're free to make your own choices, but you can't escape their consequences. Sometimes we have to sacrifice small things to get our hands on the bigger blessings in life. I'm not saying you should ignore all of your urges or stop having fun. But form a healthy balance between work and play while moderating where you're placing your time and energy. Faith vs. fear. No matter how much you worry, your problem isn't going to improve. Be wiser with your attention and energy. You can only step up in the world once you put your anxieties, fears, and worries under your feet. Faith is an active choice we make to stay optimistic. It can be extremely demanding to show faith in your goals at times. Fear will creep in and deceive you. It will steer you away from all the greatness that you're due to be blessed with. Fear is a mechanism that helps us to avoid physical harm or death. Yet, we often use it to stay comfortable, to avoid challenges. We utilize it in the wrong way and it just ends up hindering our progress and preventing us from reaching our full potential. Fear keeps our lives mediocre because it forces us to flee from our potential, rather than from anything truly harmful. Fear sets us back in our everyday lives and controls our choices. We use our precious energy to imagine what could go wrong, instead of having faith in what could go right. And our actions reflect this. Both faith and fear ask you to believe in something that cannot be seen. You may fear stepping outside in the cold because you believe it will make you ill, even if at present you are not ill and it's unlikely that exposure to cold would cause illness. This is just a figment of your imagination until it manifests as your reality. We make fear-based assumptions all the time. Unfortunately, when feed these assumptions, They expand into our experience. Fear is a low vibrational state and it therefore brings about more of what you don't want in your life. Unlike faith, it disempowers the mind and this is reflected in your experiences. If you remove fear, your experience improves. For example, a surgeon without fear is likely to be less hesitant and more focused. Their decision-making may be considerably better, resulting in an improved performance. Replacing fear with faith encourages us to do the unthinkable. It helps us to explore the realms of possibility. Faith doesn't necessarily make things easier, but it does make them possible. When going after your goals, you must have an unwavering faith that can remain sturdy when challenged by venomous opinions or unfortunate twists of fate. The faith I'm talking about is the one that says, "I'm going to win," when all you can see is losses. Sometimes all we have is our faith in the fact that things are going to get better. Hang on to it and keep believing, even if that means you're the only one who does. Flow with the universe. Embrace good vibes and learn to let things flow. There is no need to force outcomes. Once you are in harmony with the universe, what's meant to be yours will come to you. No one in the world has always manifested every single goal they've wanted in the time they've desired. You can change outcomes through your vibe, but you must accept that things will unfold in their own time. And for your highest good, which sometimes means in a way you hadn't imagined. Once you've learned to hone your manifestation skills, you must let go of your attachment to the goal. By trying to force or control the outcome, you breed resistance by feeding fear and doubt. When your heart is in something, only good things can follow. Now, this may not always seem true. But remember that rejections are just redirections to better things. Setbacks are pauses for thought. Opportunities to alter your plans, for the better. And however big any failure may feel at the time, there's always a lesson to learn. Only with faith can we recognize the value of our apparent downfalls. What we truly want often comes wrapped in different packaging. Learn to let go and let things flow. As I mentioned at the beginning of this book, the concepts of action and inaction must be balanced. Part 7. Pain and Purpose. Introduction. Life doesn't battle you because you're weak, it battles you because you're strong. It knows that if it gives you pain, you'll realize your power. The great Greek philosopher Aristotle claimed that everything happens for a reason. You can apply this when you consider that every experience in your life is designed to shape you and help you grow into the highest and mightiest version of yourself. This means that even a negative experience can be seen as an opportunity for growth, rather than a time for suffering. This doesn't mean that we shouldn't grieve or feel down when we do go through painful life experiences, and it's important to give yourself time to heal after such events. If you always play the victim when something goes wrong, life will always treat you like one. Don't let your circumstances define your future. Aristotle's belief may make people think, yes, I feel that, give them hope or slightly annoy them. I understand why some might find the phrase irritating. When someone goes through a horrific experience, it's very difficult to see reason for it. All they feel is pain, and they may feel that by saying this, you're demonstrating your ignorance about their situation. However, the majority of us go through at least one period in our lives that we find very tough. So we can relate to someone's low points to some extent, even if we don't understand them exactly, because we have felt low ourselves. Sometimes we just have to believe there's a good reason behind it that will reveal itself to us when we're ready to acknowledge it. A schoolteacher of mine once told me a story about how his brother missed the last train from the town he was studying in to go home for the holiday season. When the brother missed the train, he was devastated and angry with himself. However, later that evening he learned that train he was meant to have taken had tragically crashed and nearly all the passengers had died. Upon hearing this, he thanked God for saving him from what could have been his last breath, and he said, "Everything happens for a reason." I'm sure the friends and family of the deceased passengers wouldn't have agreed. But from the brother's perspective, the phrase made perfect sense. Just because you can't see the point behind a challenging time, doesn't mean there isn't one. If it hadn't been for my father's death early in my life, I wouldn't be sitting here trying to inspire people. I'd have entirely different stories to tell because my experiences would have been different. This doesn't make the fact that he's gone any better. With my father around, I might have avoided many of my hardships. But the phrase gives you an empowering perspective so you can move forward with your life. The past cannot be changed, only our perception of it can. By creating this shift in mindset, we start to trust that everything that happens to us also happens for us. As we begin to change our perception to a positive one, our life improves. If we don't change it, we lose our joy and are consigned to low vibrational states. Pain changes people. Life will test you just before it will bless you. Some of the best changes in life result from the most painful experiences. We need to experience low points in our life in order to gain the wisdom, strength, and knowledge we need to appreciate the high points. When we experience low points on our journey towards change, life can feel confusing and challenging. It's extremely difficult to trust the process and to have faith that good things will follow. But we need to remember that, using the lessons we learn along the way, we can make better choices going forward. If you've had your heart broken before, you might decide to pay more attention when picking a partner. This might lead you down the path to finding your soulmate, someone who treats you much better than anyone ever has before. Every choice you make leads to more choices. As you go about your day-to-day life, remember that if you make just one different choice, you may experience a completely different day. Imagine a boy going to meet a girl at the cinema for their first date. The boy decides to eat something before he goes, and consequently his stomach becomes unsettled. He then has to visit the bathroom and ends up leaving late for the date. The girl gets tired of waiting and leaves the cinema a few minutes before he arrives. As he arrives at the cinema and realizes that she's gone, he heads back home, only to bump accidentally into a girl whom he has an instant attraction to. Now imagine they both get talking, fall in love, get married, and have kids. All this occurs purely because he missed his actual date. Everything is connected. If something tragic has happened in your past, think of something good that's happened recently, they're linked. That first event somehow created different choices in you, which led to you experiencing something good. Sometimes we have to take a look back at the events in our life and start connecting the dots. There was probably a reason for each occurrence. If we look carefully, things might start making sense. If they do, surely we can be certain that all future events, whether they bring us pain or pleasure, have a purpose. Lessons will repeat themselves. Life conditions you. It swings at you, it kicks you while you're down, and it stamps on you. And yet you survive and walk around as the new and improved version of yourself. Because the challenges that some people still find hard, you have overcome. The next time you pray for your situation to change, realize that you're in that situation so that you can change. Life provides us with lessons that we can handle and that will bring out the best in us. It then tests us to make sure we've learned our lesson. Some of these tests are cruel and some are quite lenient. Occasionally we experience the same obstacles over and over again because we still have learning to do. It might be that we haven't learned our lesson properly. The best way to confirm if someone has learned their lesson is to test them more than once, further down the line. I could give you a lesson now, and as it would still be fresh in your mind, you'd probably be able to pass a test on it quite easily. However, if I gave you the same test a few months later, it would be more challenging. This would be a true test of whether or not you have understood what you've been taught. For example, if you rush a relationship with someone you hardly know and then end up getting hurt, the lesson might be that you need to get to know someone before you jump into a relationship with them. Just saying that you've learned your lesson is not always enough, you have to prove it. So the universe might then introduce you to someone else, someone who has irresistible charm. To prove that you've learned your lesson, you have to show it. If you jump into another relationship quickly, then there's a chance you might get hurt again. While you should take this example lightly, I hope you can see that sometimes we're given the same test more than once, and it can be even harder the second or third time round. Notice the warning signs. You don't get into a car immediately worrying that you're going to have a crash. That would be a very fearful way to live life, and it would drive you insane. However, you could still take measures, such as wearing a seat belt, to prevent serious injury if an accident did happen. This action, too, may result from fear, but this is why fear exists, to protect us from danger. If you caused a car accident because you consumed too much alcohol but you survived, it would be even more irresponsible for you to do it again. If you did, you'd be volunteering for another accident, which could potentially lead to your death. In other words, you're ignoring the lesson and suggesting to the universe that you should receive that lesson again. So pay attention to the warning signs. You're always being guided by the universe to live authentically and purposefully, and to experience the greater things in life. But if something doesn't go the way you wanted, ask yourself what you can learn from it, because every bad experience has a learning outcome to be taken on board. Ask yourself what changes you need to make. And don't mask unhealthy choices with optimism when you know they're not right, or let emotional cravings and temporary comfort inspire you to venture for more pain. If you keep taking a bite out of the cake that harmed you, you no longer fall victim to it, you become a hungry volunteer. Your higher purpose. You came here loaded with potential, ability, gifts, wisdom, love, and intelligence to share with the world. You are here to make the world a better place. You have a purpose, and until you start living it, you will have a void inside of you, a feeling you can't quite explain, but that knows that you are meant for more. I believe that everyone has a purpose in life, a purpose to be of service to the world. This purpose, along with the experience of unconditional love and joy, is the reason for our existence. Purpose provides us with meaning. Most of us find it difficult to identify what our true purpose is. Others have a feeling that they know what it is, but are often forced to conform to society's norms and reject their real purpose in the name of practicality. Think of a soccer ball. The purpose of this ball is to be kicked. If the ball just sits there doing nothing in the corner of a room, its purpose is being ignored. However, it doesn't care, because it has no soul. Imagine now that the ball has a soul, giving the ball self-awareness. If the ball stayed sitting in the corner of the room, it would have a strange feeling inside of it, like something was missing. The ball may never find fulfillment, because it would probably feel as if it hasn't shown the world its true worth. Now imagine someone finally picks up the ball and decides to throw it around. As the ball glides through the air, it feels ecstatic. But moments later, the ball feels a void inside itself again, because although it had fun, it wasn't enough. The ball might then be used in a variety of ways, seeing plenty of action, but still feel unfulfilled. The ball assumes that the more events that occur in its life, the closer it'll come to fulfillment. But the more events it experiences, the more this idea is disproved. Until one day, when the ball is kicked. In this moment, everything makes sense to the ball. It understands what it was designed for. It was supposed to be kicked. It looks back at the events that have already taken place and starts connecting the dots. When it was being moved through the air, and when it felt someone applying pressure to it, it experienced feelings of excitement that related to its purpose. The ball now knows what it's been searching for all along. We gain a modicum of satisfaction from applying ourselves to roles that aren't our own profound purpose, but rarely do we have lasting satisfaction. That's not to say that you can't experience joy. After all, we can always raise our vibration. But we can only feel ultimate fulfillment if we meet the purpose we were made for. You may find the idea of having a higher purpose to be far-fetched, but if you found a smartphone in the middle of a field, you'd assume that someone had dropped it there. You wouldn't think that something so complex was formed naturally by events in nature, over millions of years, without having a designer. Yet we believe the whole human race, which is far more complex than a smartphone, was produced by a series of mutations and survival of the fittest. Many of us seem to accept that we have no purpose in life, and that we're each just another human being in this universe of billions upon billions of galaxies. However, just like a smartphone, there must surely be a purpose in your existence. When people go through their lives without really believing in a higher purpose, they're not making the most of their existence. These individuals could go through their whole life just trying to make ends meet. Their purpose in life will always be driven by daily survival. The need to pay the next bill. Of course, bills do matter. We need to pay for food, water, shelter, clothing, and utilities. But do you honestly believe you were put on this planet just to exist in such a manner and then die? Do you truly believe that life is simply about making money? Life is greater if you live with purpose. When you find a meaningful reason for doing what you do, you will feel complete. Just like I used to, many people spend their days working at a job that means nothing to them and living for their 2 days of freedom each week. During those 2 days, they'll either do very little or go on a spending spree to make the most of that freedom, as I did by going to a club every weekend. Every week they'll look forward to those 2 days, wishing their precious time away because they want their time away from work, their free time, to come quicker. The result is that a whole life can go by in a flash. Life is often difficult and money does give us much more freedom. Nevertheless, have faith that you can serve a purpose for humankind and also meet your financial needs. This purpose doesn't have to be something huge. You don't have to be the next Dalai Lama or even the next Mark Zuckerberg. However, you must seek to add value, and the only way to do this is by doing something you enjoy with all of your heart. This is why passion plays such a big part in living a great life. Not everyone knows what they're passionate about. Spiritual medium Daryl Anka claims to channel a being known as Bashar, who advises that following your excitement is the shortest path to realizing what you want. Your next step should always be the one you find most exciting. You don't need to justify it, says Bashar, you just need to do it. Point 15. So take action on whatever it is that truly excites you. Make sure you don't choose something that you label as exciting because you can't think of anything else, or because you think other people will see it as exciting. The things that you're naturally drawn towards aren't random, they're picking you out in the same way that you're pursuing them. It really is as simple as this. So don't overcomplicate it by thinking that you need to have it all figured out. And don't be dishonest with yourself and force action on something you feel is unfeasible. For example, if you really like drawing, you could start by creating a website or social media account and sharing some of your work with the world. Don't try to sell your drawings for thousands of pounds right away, particularly if this seems like a long shot to you at this stage. It should be something you're willing to do for free, without any expectation, because it's something you're truly passionate about. If it doesn't excite you, it's not right for you. You don't immediately need to quit your current commitments and put your financial obligations at risk. What this does mean, though, is that you need to stay curious, stay hungry for positive change, and keep taking steps towards the things that stimulate your mind, body, and soul. Don't worry about which step to take next, or how things will unfold for you. Remember, if you show your excitement to the universe, it will give you more things to feel excited about. Wondrous opportunities will follow and help you to discover your path in life, as long as you act on the signs. Small steps are fine, because they'll lead to bigger things. Eventually, you'll work out a way to make your passion your paycheck. This could be an extension of what you're already doing, or, if you're in a profession you dislike, it means you'll eventually be able to give it up and commit to your purpose full time. You were created with intention. You are here to help, love, assist, save, and entertain. You are here to inspire and put a smile on someone's face. You are here to make a difference. You wouldn't be on this planet, at this time, if you didn't have something to offer. There is a purpose behind your existence, and when you discover what it is, you will not only change the dynamics of the world, but also Experience abundance in all areas of your life. Money and greed. Money is merely energy, neither good nor bad, and unlimited in our infinitely abundant universe. Make money to assist you, not to complete you. Sometimes, people feel that it's wrong to make money by living their purpose, so let's take a moment to define what money really is. Before you say it's a token used to complete a transaction for goods or services, or anything along those lines, let me stop you. Money is simply energy. Therefore, money is neither good nor bad. The label you give it is up to you, and the way we interpret money depends on how we attract positive situations or negative situations regarding money. There are people who do great things with their money, while the way others use it can reflect the misery inside their minds. Money is simply an amplifier. If you are not trying to create value by spreading kindness and love when you have very little money, what makes you think you're going to do that when you have more of it? Money flows to those who believe they deserve it and can attain it. Let me ask you right now, what are your views on money? Do you believe you deserve to have more money? Your subconscious thoughts and feelings on money will reveal a lot about your current reality and the one you'll experience if these perceptions stay the same. Some say that money is the root of all evil, yet they still pray for it. That's like going to a Burger King, making an order then walking out before you've even been handed your meal. How can the universe deliver a request you've already cancelled? Some of us feel bad for wanting more money. We're told we're being greedy. Truthfully, most of us want money so that we can experience financial freedom and live our most desired lifestyles without restriction. This might include wanting to go on holiday with your loved ones whenever you want, and not having to worry about how much you spend while you're away. If you perceive this as greed because others will never get to live that lifestyle, you're assuming that A, the supply of money is limited, and B, others will never break away from their current lifestyles to experience the same level of freedom. Greed works on the basis that there's a limited supply of a particular thing and that you want the majority, which will consequently be at the expense of another person's well-being. We are led to believe that there is only ever a limited supply of what we want, yet the truth is that abundance is infinitely available and provided by the universe. Limitation, then, is only a product of your mind. When your mentality is focused on what you lack, you project a fear-based vibration out into the universe, which brings you more things to be scared about. You become scared to lose money, so you guard it closely. You become afraid to spend it, because you don't know if you'll have that much money again. As a result, even though you're trying your best to hold on to your money, your vibration may create an avenue to financial difficulties. When we commit our energy to poverty, we manifest poverty. I'm not saying you shouldn't save your money, or that you should just throw it away. However, you should focus your mind on prosperity. There's power in believing and allowing wealth to flow to you. Too often we're sold ideas around lack and limitation, when the truth is that we have creative power and control over our circumstances. When individuals can inject fear into the masses, the overall vibration of the collective consciousness projects yet more fear, poverty, and destruction. It's an effective way to control humankind. Money is readily available to everyone, and the distance between you and money is determined only by your attitude towards it. Remember, though, that money will only assist you, not complete you. It's not what gives you your life purpose. You can't add value to the world and serve others by accumulating lots of money. You must also have the desire to make a difference. Achieving true happiness. Happiness doesn't come from other people, from places or things. It comes from within. I've deliberately minimized the use of the word happiness throughout the book so that I could leave it right until the end. I hope you can see that by raising your vibration and having feelings of joy, you're actually experiencing happiness. We're led to believe that happiness is based on external influences, people, places, or things. We have all these goals and desires in life, believing that once we achieve them, we'll be happy forever. When we find someone to love, we'll be happy. When we get our own house, we'll be happy. When we lose 20 pounds, we'll be happy. These may give you Temporary happiness, but this is fleeting, it doesn't stay with you. So, once you acquire these things, you carry on pursuing lasting happiness from other external things. Money, for example, is frequently linked to happiness and even success. But you'll learn from the richest people in the world that even with lots of money you can still experience sadness. If money was used to measure happiness and success, at what point would the scale begin and end? After all, numbers never end. You can easily want more and more, even once you identify your target. So you can't use it as a tool for measurement. I explained at the beginning of this book that we pursue things because we believe they'll make us happy when we get them. The same applies to the money we want. We don't want the money itself, but we do want the security and freedom it will give us, because we believe that this will make us happy. But if you were the only person on the planet and you had unlimited access to money, how useful would this be? How about being able to afford any holiday or crazy adventure you wanted, but having extremely poor health? What about being able to buy all that you ever wanted, but being neglected by the entire world? Or even being given an unlimited supply of money while working in the worst job ever, 20 hours a day? Even your ideal partner has no control over your lasting happiness. They can only affect your relative happiness, which can vanish in seconds if external conditions change. If your partner acts in a way that you perceive as hurtful, for example, the advertising industry is skilled at toying with your happiness because it preys on the knowledge that all of us want to be happy. By this end, you'll be happy, it says. You buy it, and then 6 months down the line, they release a new version. You then realize that the previous product failed to give you long-lasting happiness, so you buy the new one in the hope that it will instead. The cycle repeats. What if you could feel happy all the time? Isn't this the ultimate goal? It would mean that you're happy with what you've got at any moment, for the rest of your life. We could then say that lasting happiness is what true success looks like. This is what true happiness is. It's lasting, and it occurs when you remain at the highest frequency, despite everything that's happening at the surface level of your life. I believe that this is the place we all want to be at, where people and events are unable to change our emotional state from our natural state of love and joy. To sustain happiness, you must work towards self-mastery. It's an inward journey that requires substantial spiritual growth. Choosing empowering thoughts over limiting ones should become your natural way of thinking. You must make it a habit to look on the bright side of things and let go of the past, to stop living in the future and appreciate where you are and what you have right now, to withdraw from comparisons, and love everything in this world without condition. Embrace what is. Be happy. Final words. Going after a greater life is far from easy, and that's why most people settle for less. But if you take the time to absorb what you've learned in this book and start acting with determination, positivity, and tenacity, you won't be one of those people. One small step at a time, you'll build unstoppable momentum and move ever closer to the life you've dreamed of living. Remember that there's a lesson in every challenge, a lesson in every failure, which means your failures don't have to be failures at all. They're just twists in your path to greatness. If you commit your whole heart to achieving something and it doesn't work out, you can take that as a promise from the universe that it wasn't the right thing for you. Something better is coming. Keep going. Remember, too, to trust your instincts. Listen to that feeling in your belly that warns you about a toxic relationship. Listen to that voice in your head that lets you know when you are wasting your time. Respect your personal boundaries, and ask others to respect them, too. If something doesn't feel right, it very well might not be. And if something feels wonderfully, deeply, powerfully right, it probably is. Go with that. Let it flow. Have faith. Let go of fear and your life will shift from ordinary to extraordinary. You'll connect with your higher purpose, because it's impossible not to when you're striving with every cell of your being to travel through life with a commitment to your personal growth. You have everything you need to create an exciting and beautiful life. And it all begins with loving yourself. By building and maintaining a high vibration, you'll achieve your dreams. And even if it takes a long time, your high vibration will make you feel good along the way. That's all we really want, isn't it? To live a life that feels good. I promise you that through dedication to loving yourself, you'll achieve the incredible. It might not be a stroll in the park. It may take time. You might have to make sacrifices to get further on your journey. But it will be worth it. Over to you.